Hi there everybody and welcome back to the last week's movement on the SP 500. Now, this past week guys, I've actually been doing live streams on market open and market close. So I pretty much covered all of this essentially. However, for all those of you who could not stop by and watch the streams, probably you were at work or whatever, here's a video showing you guys again how the market finished. Now, on the S&P 500 futures, you can see on the 5-day, it is up a significant amount, around 2%. However, it did end on Friday at around negative 0.08%. So let's take a look at each individual company within the S&P 500 and how they did. Alright guys, over here at the S&P 500 heat map, there is a whole lot of green within the past week. It is absolutely crazy. Starting of course with the technology sector, Microsoft up 4.22, Apple up 7.55, Adobe 6.39, Oracle as well 2.86. Right here we have FTNT 10.82, and overall guys, this has just been an absolute massive green when it came to the software and infrastructure subsector. Now in regards to the semiconductor sector, we don't see a single red here either. Nvidia up 4.5%. AVGO, unfortunately, AVGO is almost back up to $500, 2.65% this past week. QCOM up a whopping 6.5%. Intel up 1.55%, AMD 3.77%, Texas Instrument 1.22, and overall guys, this is all essentially in the green. Now in the information tech subsector, we actually do have a little bit of red here. IBM down 0.5%, CTSH also down 0.7%, but as you guys can see, even though we did have a couple reds here and there, right, a couple minor companies like HP also down 2%. That was actually really surprising. Overall, the technology sector, guys, was essentially in the green this past week. Coming now to the communications sector, massive green right here when it comes to Google and of course Facebook. Google, guys, up 10%. That is absolutely insane. Facebook up almost 6%. Now, out of all of these ones, well, one is actually in the red, and that is none other than Twitter. Guys, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever one you might lie within these two sides, Elon Musk has terminated. For now, I don't know what developments we might have in the future, but as of right now, July 9th, Elon Musk has terminated the deal with Twitter. It actually has plunged significantly more than 1.5%. I think it was down, I believe, a lot more at around like 4 or 5% on the 8th when the announcement was actually made. In the entertainment, we actually have a lot of green. However, we do have one red. Right here, you guys can see Charter Communications down 1%. Netflix, probably the highest one right here at almost 7%. Telecom, essentially everything is down except for T-Mobile, which is up at 0.88. Verizon down 0.5%. AT&T down 0.75%. And Lumen Technologies down around 1%. Coming now to the consumer cyclicals, we got the big movers here. Amazon up 8.78%. Tesla up a whopping 11.71%. Home Depot, guys, was also up a significant amount, 4.45%. Lowe's almost 4%. Nike up a whopping 5.61%. And overall, this sector was very much in the green. We did have a couple of red ones, like here we have Ball Corporation down 0.22. You know, a lot of minor companies that are still in the S&P 500, but just not that prominent, like SEE, Sealed Air Corporation, down 2.5%. But overall, in regards to the consumer cyclicals, everything was essentially once again in the green. Coming down to the consumer defensives, we actually see a little bit of red here though. It's still very heavily towards the green, but we do see a couple of reds here when it comes to the tobacco industry. Philip Morris down almost 5%. Altria down 0.6%, and when it comes to the packaging, McCormick & Company down 1.42%. But the big movers here, guys, it is essentially Walmart 3.14%, Costco up 4.64%, Target up 4.79%, and right here Dollar Tree, ironically enough, 7.38% in the green. And when it comes to the beverages, actually Pepsi doing fairly good. Now guys, Pepsi's actually having their earnings, I believe, on Tuesday. Actually, I'm going to show you guys right here. Yeah, PepsiCo is having it before open, so be on the lookout for a stock analysis when it comes to Pepsi, because I do want to take a look at this company because, well, it is a really good dividend paying company. and it's a company that we may want to invest in for future growth. So be on the lookout for that one. But nonetheless, overall, the consumer defensives, very, very green, except for a couple of companies here and there that were slightly in the red, if not very deep in the red, like we see here once again with Philip Morris. And right here, when it comes to the farming subsector, we got Archer Daniels Midland Company. Now coming over here, guys, to the financials, a lot of green. Like, there's barely any red over here. The only ones that are essentially red from what I could see is CB down 1.8%, Cincinnati Financial Corporation down 0.3%, WRB down 1.4%, L, not Lowe's, but it says Lowe's, I don't necessarily know how to say that, down 2.24%. But overall, guys, everything here is essentially in the green. The big movers, as from what I can see, is actually PayPal up 5.14%, Visa 3.39%, MasterCard 2.4%, American Express 2.27%, Capital One 4.24%. And when it comes to the banks, everything was also here in the green as well. JP Morgan up 1.55%, Bank of America up 2.12%, Wells Fargo 2.58%, and Citi up 1.8%. Now, guys, a couple of these banks are actually having their earnings once again this upcoming week. As you can see right here, Citi is actually having it on Friday, as well as Wells Fargo. So be on the lookout for that, because whatever these guys say will probably dictate what the market will be the following week. But as it stands, everything here is pretty much in the green. Coming now to the healthcare sector, we see a little bit of red here, but it's not too bad. It's slightly leaning towards the green though, right? A little bit of red here and there, but still slightly leaning towards the green. Johnson & Johnson up 0.43%, Eli Lilly almost 2%, Pfizer 1.41%, AbbVie was actually down by about 0.2%, and BMY, Bristol Myers Squibb, down 2.1%. By far, this is the worst one that we have seen in the healthcare so far. Merck up 1.77%, Amgen up 2.13%, Gilead 1.67%, Biogen 7.3%, and actually we do have a little one here, Organon, actually down 3%. Now, as it stands when it comes to the rest of the healthcare sector, we got here UNH also up as well, CVS up 1.64%, CI up almost 6%, and overall, guys, the healthcare sector very, very much in the green, except for those two that I said, and a couple minor ones here that we actually see, like for example, like Walgreens was down essentially 1%. But overall, the healthcare sector very, very much in the green. Coming now to the industrials, this was actually one of the worst ones that we actually got so far, leaning more towards the red. However, the green really did offset it, right? We got here Honeywell down 0.27%, 3M down 0.5%. Still, guys, below 130, so we may want to consider buying this one. We'll see. We'll see if they continue to fall. GE down 0.2%, OTIS down 1.1%, ETN is actually up by around 1.5%, EMR Emerson up 1.42%. Right here, we actually have a very, very green one. Generac, GNRC, Generac Holdings, almost 9.5%. That is absolutely insane. When it comes to the aerospace, we got Raytheon down 1%. Lockheed Martin down a whopping almost 2.25%. General Dynamics, it is down, but is essentially flat at 0.06%. LHX, guys, down 1.5%. UNP is still hovering around like the 209, 210 mark, down 1.68 on the last week. But overall, when it comes to the industrials, it is somewhat mixed. However, the red wasn't red enough to offset the greens that we had in companies like I just showed you right here, as like Generac Dynamics, as well as right here when it comes to the integrated freight and logistics, UPS up 1.5, FedEx up 1.67, and this one, which is JBHT, up 5.23. Overall, guys, the industrial sector kind of mixed, a little bit more red, but the green really did offset it. Coming now to the real estate sector. Actually, we see a lot more red here than we actually saw before. American Tower down 0.23. CCI, which is essentially the same thing as American Tower, it is up 1.79. So that's actually fairly interesting. WY up 5.71%. EQIX down almost 1%. PLD Prologis up 3.34%. So it's kind of mixed here and there, guys. Here's another one of my favorites as well. Realty Income 1% up. So when it comes to the real estate, it was kind of hit and miss. Overall, this one was by far the most 50-50 out of all the sectors so far. Coming now to the utilities. Well, this is actually where we started going significantly more into the red. Only one green so far when it came to the regulated utilities. NEE was the only one that was positive, up 3.6%. Everything else, guys, Duke down 1.21%, Southern down 0.17, Zell down 1.64, ED down 3.3. So when it came to this subsector, everything was essentially in the red except for Next Era Energy. And even guys, when it came to the other utilities as well, we only had a couple greens here and there, like American Waterworks, and even this tiny one down here, CEG, up 4.17, but this is by far one of the reddest sectors that we have seen so far. And speaking of red, it doesn't stop with the energy sector either. ExxonMobil, one of the few ones that's actually a little bit higher from the big ones, right? Up 0.51%. Chevron though, my baby Chevron, was down 1.39%. ConocoPhillips down 3.73%. EOG down 4.5%. PXD down 2.5%. Occidental, Warren Buffett, guys, recently put in another 12 million shares worth of Occidental. That's absolutely crazy. Well, it paid off because it just gained 3.04% this past week. And by far, I think this is the worst one that we have seen so far. EHS down 5.44%. However, down here we also have Halliburton, which was down a lot by 4.85%, but I think the worst one that we have seen so far is this one, Hess, down 5.44%. And lastly, looking at the material sector, kind of mixed, however, leaning more towards the red. So you can see right here, LIN down 4.84, Sherwin actually up 6.42, but everything else was essentially in the red, like APD down 3.44, FCX also down 4.31. So you did have a couple green ones here, but we also had a couple red ones here. Overall, when it comes to the basic materials, this was also a pretty 50-50 one as well. But as it stands, guys, this is essentially what happened this past week in the markets. We shall see what happens now because we just started Q3. This means that every single earning that we're going to see is based off of Q2. Be very, very aware of the earnings that are coming out this week and even next week, because banks are the first ones to put out earnings. The banks dictate how the economy will function. They are essentially the gatekeepers as to how money is lent out. So whatever they say, however their earnings are in Q2, will determine how essentially every other company did as well. So be on the lookout for that. That pretty much is it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. So with that said, peace out and be on the lookout for the next video.